November 121 Mike, your turn. Taxi 111.
Hi, I'm Mike Thompson and welcome to 121 Point Mike. This video is about something that's bugged me for a while, and it's the official advice published in Chapter 2222 of the Aviation Weather Handbook. This is the same information that used to bug me in Advisory Circular 00-24. Obviously, you should avoid thunderstorms, right? But should you find yourself in one, and you shouldn't, the FAA recommends the following. Don't turn back once in the thunderstorm. A straight course through the storm most likely will get the aircraft out and the hazards most quickly. In addition, turning maneuvers increases stress on the aircraft. Seriously? Have these people ever been overflown by a thunderstorm? I think that's terribly dumb advice. Now, of course, it's true that turning maneuvers increase the stresses on the plane. When you turn, the load factor goes up due to simple trigonometry, and I covered that briefly in my video on basic flight maneuvers. But I cannot see how flying straight through will most likely get the aircraft out of the hazards most quickly. You can be certain that the area you just came from didn't have a thunderstorm, right? And you have no idea how wide the storm might be. It could be several terrifying minutes or over an hour in a single-engine piston plane. If you set up a nice standard rate turn at a gentle 15-degree bank and approach speed, you'll have reversed your course in exactly 60 seconds and headed back to the way you were certain that there wasn't a thunderstorm just a minute ago. Now, why did I say approach speed, though, and not maneuvering speed? Well, because you have a greater margin of safety against structural damage than you would at maneuvering speed, which is the highest speed that a full control deflection won't cause structural damage. A gust, and there will be some, could easily damage your plane if you have to fully deflect your controls during turbulence and wind shear. And I would say that full control deflection from one stop to the other is very likely. Also, at approach speed, you're far enough above the stall that you have some safety margin there too. Now, all of this isn't going to be necessary, right? Because you're not going to fly into a storm now, are you? But you know what? Let's just run some numbers and use some graphics. So let's say that you've realized after 15 seconds that you're in a storm and you've reduced speed to 90 knots. Though you really can't tell because the needle's bouncing all over the place. But you're averaging 90 knots, you think. After 15 seconds at 90 knots, you're 3/8 of a mile inside the storm. Now that's not very far now, is it? So you set up a standard rate turn, and let's say it's a whopping 15 degrees of bank. Well, you trig people might realize that this angle only increases your load factor by 4%. That's totally negligible. So after a mere 60 seconds, you're heading the other way. And let's say that the storm is moving at 30 knots in the worst possible direction, the way you just came from. So it's moved only a half mile in that minute that it took you to turn. So now you're just a mile inside the storm. And it's still drifting a bit as you fly back out. But at 120 knots ground speed, you'll be out in only 35 more seconds. You're only in the storm for a total of 1:50. If I were going to fly straight through the whole time, I would have to hope that the bad weather was less than 2 miles across. And there's no guarantee of that. I don't know about you, but I'm certainly not going to follow the FAA advice here and try to fly through the storm. Now, do what you want, but hopefully I've provided some food for thought and discussion down in the comments. But hopefully this is purely academic, because you should never make a chain of decisions that lead you into a thunderstorm. Maybe check out my video on risk right now. I'd be interested to know what you all think as well, though, so leave a comment or 5. But go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. That'll certainly help me out, as will that discussion that you're about to have down in the comments. And check out those shirts. And thanks for staying with me on 121 Point Mike.